Welcome to this introduction to the gunner's position in BMP-2 and Steel Beast. In the previous video we covered the commander's position. In Steel Beast, the gunner's position is fully modelled. Access it by pressing F6. Here we are. In this video we will talk about the primary sight, the night vision equipment, the vision blocks, yeah, there's a little funky one upside down behind you, the missile sight, the ballistic computer, which isn't one, and those lights on the control handle. Raise and lower your perspective and exposure level by tapping the Q key to go up, and the Z key to go down. This position has no binocular view. You can also button or unbutton by pressing the B key. Alt B commands vehicle troops to unbutton or button up. Technically this is the commander's responsibility, but we failed to mention it in the previous video. Now let's get back inside. Like the commander's position, the gunner has a set of vision blocks. Use them to look around the vehicle. The vision blocks are located at eye level in the interior view. To use them, simply click them with the mouse, like so, or look towards a vision block. Then press N to lean forward in the direction of the mouse pointer. Also, like the commander's position, if you look straight up when the hatch is closed, then you can see out the hatch rear facing vision block. This is a way to quickly check the rear of the turret for threats. The gunner's primary sight is called the BPK-242. Just click it or press F2. This is your sight to engage and destroy targets with the autocannon and coax. Here the zoom level is fixed at ×6 magnification. The sight symbology consists of a primary reticule and one for emergencies. The primary reticule is illuminated. It can also be range adjusted. When the range is set to 0, the primary reticule is located in the centre of the view. There is a large caret in the middle and two vertical lines on either side. They are all illuminated in yellow. The upper tip of the caret is for stationary targets. The vertical lines are used for moving targets. The caret is 3 mils high. The lead lines are 2 mils high. They are 4 mils apart. The emergency reticule has 6 black vertical lines. They are in the centre of the sight view. We'll come back to them later. Your primary sight has a series of horizontal lines to the left and right side of the sight picture. These lines are range scales used to set the aim of certain types of ammunition and are illuminated in yellow. Both sets of range scales have a central horizontal line. These are the index lines which designate the current range setting for that type of ammunition. The leftmost 2 rows of lines indicate range-dependent super-elevation adjustments for armoured piercing kinetic energy munitions, or AP. These go from 0 meters at the bottom all the way up to the maximum practical engagement range of 2000 meters at the upper tip. Both rows offer the same munition, just spaced out for readability. The dash between these rows indicates the current super-elevation for a corresponding range. On the right, there is another double stack of range lines, but for 2 entirely different munitions. The rightmost is for the PKT coax machine gun. The second right is for 30mm high explosive rounds. This scale starts at 0 meters at the bottom and goes up to 3800 meters. On the far right, the coax range scale goes up to 2000 meters. Depending on doctrine, This is the maximum useful range for the coax, or way beyond it. The tracers will burn out at about 850 meters range. Unlike with high explosive, it's hard to observe your fire beyond that range, especially on wet ground. To adjust the range, press Shift up arrow to increase the range. Press Shift down arrow to decrease range. Alternatively, adjust range with the mouse wheel. Holding Shift makes adjustment faster. The numbers along the range scales are in hundreds of meters. If you want to set the AP sight to 1200 meters, then you would increase range until the index side on the AP scale is next to the 12 range line on that scale. Located to the lower left of the GPS is an illuminated stadiometric scale. Use it to estimate the range to the target. Similar to other tanks, the numbers on the scale represent hundreds of meters. The BMP-2 scale is calibrated to a target height of 2.2 meters. This is less than the height of an average PC, even the M113. To use it, place the target inside the Stadia scale. But remember, the scale probably won't match your current target. Taller vehicles will let you underestimate their distance. In the case of an M113, add a seventh. An M60 is a quarter of the distance further away than the scale suggests. This is important when deciding if it's in range of the missile. Speaking of missiles, it's important for you as a gunner to memorize the range limits for your missiles. As you can see here, only the AT-5 offers the range usually associated with ATGMs. The old AT-4 gives you only 2 kilometers range, later variants at least 2.5. As you can see, the FAR M60 fits snugly in the 4,000 meter bracket, but it's actually almost 5 kilometers away. Back to the autocannon and the primary sight. Here's our target at 800 meters range. Now that you have estimated the target's range, decide which ammo to fire. Let's use HE. For this, adjust the range setting with the index for HE. Next, place the carrot's tip on target. To fire, press spacebar or joystick button 1. Rapid shots are preferred over burst fire. This helps to conserve ammunition. Adjust the rate of fire by clicking on the rate of fire switch here on the central networks box. The rate of fire has 3 settings: single shot, low rate of fire and high rate of fire. If you're not familiar with the Cyrillic alphabet, here's a crib. O is for one shot, M for medium rate, B is for burst. You can hover the mouse and use the wheel to change settings, or click to toggle through the 3 states. Okay, this is annoyingly time consuming. Fortunately, there's also a hotkey for this, page down. It toggles through all 3 firing rates. The low rate is 200 to 300 rounds per minute. High rate is 550 rounds per minute. There is no ballistic computer in the BMP. To induce lead, you must do it, without help. Lead is needed to hit a moving target. Aiming in front of your target this way, your fired round and target shall meet. To do this, estimate the required lead. Use the vertical lines to the left and right of the centre caret on the primary sight. There are also vertical lines to the left and right of the central vertical line in the emergency sight for the same purpose. For this slow moving target, we shall use a single lead increment. This truck drives fast. We must use at least 2 lead increments. If the target is missed at short range, the easiest way to adjust fire is to walk the traces into the target, but you spend much more ammo that way. Whenever you have the time, especially for long-range engagements, it is appropriate to adjust the reticule for range, then re-engage. Use single shots to establish range and lead. Fire bursts only for effect. You have no way to select ammunition type yourself. Only the commander has the access to that switch. Instead, you must request the commander to change the ammunition type, and you do this by pressing Insert for AP and Delete for HE. If in multiplayer a human player occupies the commander's position, you will have to ask him politely for the ammunition type of your choice. Engaging infantry or light vehicles with a machine gun is similar to engaging the target with autocannon, with the exception that the stadia is inappropriate to determine range. Instead, set the reticule to coax 600, then engage and adjust range by walking the traces into the target with short bursts. Once on target, engage with longer bursts. Ground conditions will affect greatly your ability to observe your fire. As the tracers burn out relatively early, dust kicked up is your only other clue. If you're looking for an auxiliary sight like on so many other combat vehicles and Steel Beasts, there is none on the BMP-2. Instead you have the emergency reticule. We'll get back to that in a second. Your only other sight for the autocannon is the IR sight, which we will cover later. Note though, is unsuitable for daytime use. If your primary sight is disabled, only the commander can engage targets with the autocannon. You may still engage targets with the anti-tank missile. More on that later. We just mentioned the emergency reticule. In what kind of circumstances might it become useful? Let us assume you are advancing through a town. An enemy IFV manages to get in a lucky shot first, and your vehicle is damaged. The ballistic computer damage message indicates that your central networks box is damaged. We'll cover the central networks box at the end of this video. For the moment it's sufficient to say that it's not a computer, but still, it handles the electrical input into your weapon systems and some optics like a ballistic computer would. So, Steel Beast calls it a ballistic computer in the damage notifications. So what do you do now? As the central networks box fails, the illuminated reticule in your primary sight is lost. Now you are left with 6 black vertical lines in the centre. Some would call them iron sights because you cannot adjust them for range. In the middle of this array of lines there are 2 lines above each other. Use them to aim at stationary targets. The endpoints of these lines indicate needed super elevation for specific ranges. This tip at the very top of the lines indicates the aim point for 800 meter targets. Aim with this tip if the target is 1200 meters away. Here below is the aim point for 1400 meters range. Finally, at the bottom, is the aim point for 1,800 meters if you fire AP rounds. When shooting HE, it is a super elevation for 1,600 meters distance. Targets are rarely at these exact ranges. Observe your fire, adjust your aim accordingly. Strong crosswind like this here may cause you to miss, even if the target is standing still. You need to shift the aim point in the opposite direction of where your round landed. If your target is moving, use the lines left or right to apply lead. The emergency reticule's lines are 2.5 mils high. The spacing is 4 mils. This is useful to remember because at 1,000 meters range, a fast moving enemy vehicle at 30 kilometers an hour will move 8 mils per second. So in those circumstances, use 2 lines to lead it. Finally, because of system damage, the main gun will not fire if the regular trigger is pressed. Instead, use the emergency fire button, press Shift spacebar. Access the infrared sight by pressing F3. You can also access the sight by clicking on the sight's ocular lens in the interior view. You cannot use the IR sight in daylight. The sight's lens is bolted shut to prevent its use in daylight. It's rather sensitive and fragile, so if used in daylight it would overload and burn out immediately. For this reason, in daylight, if you select the IR sight, the view will appear black. Crews prepare for night combat by opening the bolts of the shutter. Your AI crew members will do this for you in still beasts once the sun is down enough, and close them again a while after the first light. What a service. There is no thermal view. The IR sight is only barely capable of keeping the BMP-2 operable at night. Like other Soviet vehicles, if pitted against thermal equipped vehicles at night, it will be at an extreme disadvantage. Against other IR or non-equipped vehicles, however, it is likely to be effective enough. The IR sight's reticule is a projection of its primary sight. It matches the position of that reticule exactly, but it lacks the range scale, so you would have to look back into your primary sight to adjust range, then return to the IR sight to engage the target. Ugh, it's dark. Clearly not such a great solution. Better just set the range to 800 meters and leave it. At that range, the ballistic differences between AP and HE are negligible. Engagement technique is quite similar to the primary sight. Skip the range estimation though. You can't see far in the IR sight anyway, so you just know that the range is either close or very close. Just shoot and adjust. The imaging still beasts are compromised. The engine can't handle searchlights, so the overall picture is better than with a real IR sight, especially with moonlight, but also worse because there's no searchlight beam for illumination. Here is a scene with full moon, compared to what it looks like when there is no moon. The BMP-2 is equipped with a roof-mounted ATGM launcher that fires over the AT-4 or AT-5 missile. Press F4 to access the ATGM sight, or click it here. Once in the ATGM sight view, you need to open the ballistic door that protects the sight from damage. Press Shift B to open the door. Now power up the launcher. To do so, press the V key. Or alternatively, press the launcher power button switch located here on the central networks box. Now the turret stabilizer will go into standby and you can no longer power traverse the turret. Only after you switch off missile launcher power may you use power traverse again. The drill then should be to point the turret at the target and only then turn on the missile launcher. This guarantees minimal engagement times. When the sight is powered up, there will be a set of illuminated red crosshairs visible. These are used to guide the missile onto the target and indicate you are ready to fire. In real life, BMP-2 should not engage with its missile if it's sat on a steep incline, because guidance will be distorted. Chance to hit is severely reduced, loss of missile may occur. In SteelBeast this is currently not simulated. This is currently bug 12978 in the SteelBeast bug tracking database. Keep this in mind and a future bug fix won't surprise you. Fire the missile with the spacebar. When launched, the only control of the missile you have will be by moving the hand cranks. These are the left arrow, right arrow keys, and up arrow, down arrow. The missiles are semi-active command line of sight. To hit the target, all you need to do is keep the reticule on the target. The missile is quite reliable as long as you avoid drastic movements, such as the driver suddenly moving out. Guiding the missile to a moving target is tricky with the use of the hand cranks. In the real vehicle, mechanical flywheels help to stabilise the turn rate. SteelBeast attempts to replicate this using steady taps on the keys, that is, taps at a steady and often low interval, such as one tap every 1 or 0.5 seconds, to keep the launcher tracking at the correct rate of speed. Before you reload, open the hatch and pop your head out. This is necessary to reload. Then you must click on the menu at the top of the screen. Ensure your menu and information bar haven't been minimized by pressing Alt-H, or selecting reload will be impossible. Click on Vehicle, reload, then click on the description of the missile you are carrying. If you have done it correctly, the missile tube will disappear and there will be a description in green at the bottom of the screen saying, in this case, reloading 85 Spandrel/Konkurs 0/3. This means you have no missiles loaded and 3 in reserve. If you had an AT-4 loaded, it would say that instead. Of course, being external to the armour will expose you to the hazards of bullets and fragments in the air. Perhaps pull back to some cover for a missile reload. The central networks box is located on the turret floor here. This box is the nerve centre of the BMP-2's armament. Damage to this will cause a failure to the vehicle's weapon systems, requiring manual fire of its weapons. The central networks box is where you change the cannon's rate of fire. Alternatively, use page down key. You may turn on the ATGM launcher and switch it off again, or use the V key to toggle. The centre LEDs give you a readout at a 30mm ammunition count. It also displays the current selected round type, 6 for AP, 0 for HE. The turret exhaust fan can be toggled off and on here. The gun emits noxious fumes. SteelBeast simulates the presumed absence of those fumes in your gaming room by emitting this noxious noise. Maybe also open the window on occasion. Unfortunately, you can't actually see it running, but if you listen carefully you can hear it turn off and on again. The central networks box itself can be toggled off and on by the switch under the safety bracket. The central networks box is referred to as the ballistic computer in SteelBeast. If damaged, these connected functions will not work, or if they do work abnormally. The missile can no longer be powered up or fired. The gun will default to high rate of fire whatever mode is selected, but you can still change the ammunition feed. The BMP-2 was engineered to be a relatively cheap and plentiful piece of machinery, and it succeeded in that. In other ways, it could be described as crude. Occasionally it is non-intuitive and somewhat complicated to use. Look no further than the manual turret traverse. To use it, you must disable the turret drive switch here. Okay, that was easy. But if you want to activate the turret drive again, you now have to wait for minutes. The gyros must spin up to full RPM first, and they are slow to stabilise. Finally, let's have a look at the light code on the gunner's control handle. It may appear confusing. First light from the left, stabilise traverse. If lit, powered traverse is available. Also, the turret will counter-rotate whole movements. Second light from the left, stabilised elevation. Usually it is on, indicating that powered gun elevation is available. The light in the middle, automatic. It would light up while fast powered traverse rate is active while you're looking through the sights, so you're not going to see it. Second light from the right, semi-automatic. While lit, the turret is in slow power traverse mode. The last light lights up if the ATGM launcher powered on. We hope that has been a useful primer into the world of BMP-2 gunnery. We hope this has been of interest to you. Thank you for watching.